right. All right, thanks, Dad. Really appreciate this. Um, let's just start where you were born, and then where Grandpa was born and where he grew up.
I was born in Springdale, Arkansas, and Dad was born in Faulkner County, which is Quitman, Arkansas.
Okay. And his dad, so your grandfather, was Ernest Thurlow Herring, right?
That is correct.
Where was he? Was he born in the same county? Is that where he grew up?
Yes, Ernest Thurlow, my grandpa, um, he was born in Faulkner County as well, and he was born in September the 21st, 1883. So he married my grandma when I think she was around 15 or 16 years old, and he was in his 30s. And they married September the 21st, 1919. So on his birthday was their wedding anniversary.
Oh, that's cool. Easy to
Yeah.
remember.
They 10 children. My dad was the youngest of those. Actually, they had 11. They had a stillborn in there, but the 10 living, he was the youngest.
All right. And what did E.T. do for a living? What did he do throughout his life?
He was a school teacher and a preacher, and did a lot of farming. In for a while, he served as a representative from Faulkner County for the 1921 term of the state legislature. So his primary interest was building better educational facilities, which led to the Guy Perkins Consolidated School in his county. So he was a very well-known, very traveled. When he announced he was going to run for state legislature, he was laughed at. They ridiculed him, made fun of him, and he won by a landslide, they said.
Because he knew everybody.
He had been there a long time, walked that whole area, knew every one of them, and he only served the one time, and I guess he got done what he wanted and didn't run.
Yeah! He's back alive.
It's okay. They'll understand.
Yeah. All right. All right. And so, what generation are you, Peppa, and me? So what are the generations there?
You would be the 12th generation that came over from England. I'm the 11th, and my dad's the 10th. The first guy, best they can tell, came over in 1642. They think, they're not for sure, but they think it's from Bristol, England, was where he departed from. So it's been a lot of years.
All right. There's are there any like we already got into, but are there any like stories or like physical heirlooms that have been handed down? Like the heritage type thing, you know?
Well, the main thing that my memories and my recollections from what Dad said, Grandma was a big quilt maker. She made a lot of homemade quilts, and that's one of the things that I received. It was a well-used, well-loved homemade quilt, but it was handmade by Grandma. Dad had the old trunk, the old steamer trunk with the dome lid, the family Bible. You've mentioned the guns. He's got the old single shot shotgun that he's handed down to me. I've got his 22 that he's had since he was in his 20s, and he got it used then. So I think there's two guns there that are, I don't know, they're probably pushing 80 years or more, easy. Grandpa was known for self-treating and self-medicating. He would take a little bucket and a grub axe and go out in the woods and dig up the roots and bring back the bushes, and he would boil his own concoctions down and medicate himself. And they say he learned that from the Indians. Grandma said she used to beg the doctor to make him quit doing that, and the doctor said he wished he knew half of what Grandpa knew about how to go out in the woods and make your own medicine. So he had a large garden, had an orchard, raised beef, hogs, goats, sheep, chickens. He made sorghum molasses, had his own little mill there, so he was the sorghum supplier for the area. They had honeybees. They just lived. My mom said it's not that my dad's so old, he just lived so far back in the sticks. Dad grew up with an outhouse, coal oil lanterns for light. They went to town in a wagon. He said he remembers going to town, and for $5 you could fill the wagon up with groceries. And just that was his memories. They bathed with water from the creek and had a well in the backyard. That's his beginning years. That's how it happened.
All right. And then can you name E.T.'s dad and then E.T.'s granddad? So we go back to the Revolutionary War real quick.
Well, Bayless was that was my dad's grandpa. He was Ernest Thurlow's
dad.
And Bayless, he was born in 1841 in Cobb County, Georgia. And it says in April of 1862, at the age of 20, Bayless joined Company C, 30th Alabama Infantry in the Confederate forces fighting in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Mississippi. He was captured in July 1863 when Vicksburg fell, but was paroled and rejoined his unit. On the 13th of May, 1864, Bayless and the 30th Alabama Infantry were at Resaca, Georgia, as were two brothers Hines and Isaac in the 29th Alabama Infantry. 2 weeks later, the 27th of May, 1864, Bayless Herring was captured at Kingston, Georgia, and remained a POW at Rock Island, Illinois, until exchanged at City Point, Virginia, on the 2nd of March, 1865. He spent a brief time in a hospital at Richmond and received a furlough, and that is the final entry in his service record. So Bayless was, yes, in the Civil War. And then his father was Daniel Herring. Daniel was born in 1809, July the 6th, at Darlington District, South Carolina. And he departed for the Civil War, or the two sons of Daniel and Aletha departed for the Civil War in April of 1862. And shortly thereafter, an incident concerning Daniel became grist for a family legend. And this is where you and I have talked about, I've told you I've never taken a drink. Dad said he's never taken a drink. And Grandpa, to all of our knowledge, never took a drink. And this may have been where it started. Daniel Herring was a sportsman and he drank. He told them if he ever came in and used the family badly, he would quit. Well, he didn't quit until after they moved over to Herring Springs. He came in one night hollering and screaming. Hines was the only one of the boys in the house at the time, and later he said he knew his dad was in for trouble. If he hadn't been there, Hines said, his mother might have killed him. But he picked up his father and threw him out of the house and barred the door. It was wintertime, but they wouldn't let him in. The next morning, Daniel wanted to know why he was outside, and they told him. He said, that's the last drop I'll ever take. And he never drank again. So,
that's probably why.
That's probably why. Good enough for me. It goes. Right. We've got a book that traces land and gives wills and family history all the way to the guys in the Revolutionary War who were making guns in their basement. and all the way back pre-revolutionary to 1642. I've always been interested in kind of